Picture this. The most dominant rookie in WNBA history goes from shooting lights out to missing 22 out of 23 three-pointers. A player who never missed a single game in college suddenly can't stay on the court. And while everyone's talking about her shooting slump, nobody's addressing the elephant in the room. What if I told you that Caitlyn Clark's struggles aren't just about basketball? What if there's something much darker happening behind the scenes that the league doesn't want you to know about? Before we dive into what's really going on, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the truth about Caitlyn Clark, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start with the facts. Caitlyn Clark is sitting out tonight's game against the Los Angeles Sparks with a groin injury. She's already missed 5 games this season with a quad injury. For someone who played 185 consecutive games dating back to high school, this sudden inability to stay healthy is raising serious questions. But the physical injuries might be the least of her problems. Over her last 3 games, Clark has gone 1 for 23 from three-point range. Let that sink in. The same player who set the WNBA rookie record with 122 three-pointers last season can't buy a bucket. She went 0 for 7 against Golden State, then 1 for 10 against Las Vegas. Even Steph Curry at his worst never experienced a slump this devastating. But here's where it gets interesting. Former Warriors assistant coach Bruce Frazier recently revealed something that should make every WNBA fan concerned. He said the physicality Clark is facing isn't normal basketball contact. It's something else entirely. And when you look at the pattern of hard fouls, hip checks, and borderline assaults she's endured, you start to wonder if this is coordinated. Remember when Connecticut's Chennedy Carter hip-checked Clark while the ball wasn't even in play? Or when Marina Mabrey literally decked her to the ground? These aren't basketball plays. They're attempts to hurt a player who's bringing unprecedented attention to the league. And the most disturbing part? The WNBA seems content to let it happen. The controversy reached a boiling point when USA Today reporter Christine Brennan started asking questions about the targeting of Clark. The players' union immediately attacked her, calling her questions inappropriate. But why? If there's nothing to hide, why the defensive reaction? The truth is, there's a civil war happening in the WNBA, and Caitlyn Clark is caught in the middle. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening. When Clark entered the league, she didn't just bring talent, she brought millions of new fans, record TV ratings, and sold-out arenas. The Seattle Storm sold 18,300 tickets for a random Tuesday night game. The Lakers couldn't even do that. The Sparks had 19,000 fans at Staples Center, their biggest crowd ever, all because of one player. But not everyone's happy about it. Veteran players who've been grinding for years in half-empty arenas suddenly see a rookie getting all the attention. Players who've been fighting for equal pay and respect watch as Clark signs endorsement deals worth millions while making less than $80,000 in salary. The resentment is real, and it's ugly. Sue Bird, the WNBA legend, recently dropped a bombshell on her partner Megan Rapinoe's podcast. She said Clark is being used as a pawn in a much larger game. The racism and hatred that's being directed at Clark's defenders isn't new. It's been bubbling under the surface for years, but Clark's arrival has brought it all to the surface. Here's what nobody wants to talk about. Black players who defend against Clark aggressively face death threats and racist attacks on social media. Dejanai Carrington was followed by angry fans after a playoff game. She received messages so vile that I can't even repeat them here. Angel Reese has been dealing with harassment her entire rookie season, but the league only spoke up when it affected Clark. The double standard is staggering. When Carrington and Reese spoke out about racism in July, the WNBA stayed silent. But the moment Clark faced some hard fouls, suddenly the league releases statements about player safety. The message is clear. Some players matter more than others. But wait, it gets worse. There's now a growing movement among Clark's fan base calling for her to leave the WNBA entirely. They want her to join Ice Cube's Big 3 League, where she was reportedly offered $5 million. Others suggest she should start her own league. The fact that fans are actively encouraging the league's biggest star to leave should terrify WNBA executives. The league is at a crossroads. On one hand, they need Clark. She's brought more attention to women's basketball than anyone since the league's inception. ESPN's third most watched regular season game ever featured Clark against Las Vegas. That's not a coincidence. But on the other hand, the old guard isn't ready to pass the torch. Diana Taurasi, the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, has been particularly vocal. She warned that Clark would face a transition period in the pros. But this isn't about basketball. Taurasi sees her records threatened. She sees her legacy being overshadowed by a 22-year-old who's revolutionizing the game. The Olympic snub was the clearest message yet. Despite being the most popular player in the league, despite leading the WNBA in assists, despite breaking multiple rookie records, Clark was left off Team USA's roster for the Paris Olympics. They gave a spot to 42-year-old Taurasi instead, a going-away present, as Christine Brennan called it in her explosive new book. The politics couldn't be more obvious. But here's the thing about Clark that her haters don't understand. She's not going anywhere. After every hard foul, she gets up. After every dirty play, she keeps competing. She's handled the pressure with more grace than anyone could have expected. When asked if Chennedy Carter owed her an apology for the hip check, Clark simply said no. She understands the game within the game. The shooting slump? It's not just about missing shots. Washington Post columnist Sally Jenkins revealed that the ludicrous rugby level of contact in the WNBA has messed with Clark's head. Great shooters need physical quietude to find their rhythm. But when you're getting mauled every time you touch the ball, when refs swallow their whistles because they don't want to appear biased, how can you find that peace? The numbers tell the story. Clark is still averaging 19.8 points, 8.9 assists, and 5.4 rebounds per game. Those are all-star numbers, but the one for 23 from 3? That's not normal variance. That's what happens when a player is being systematically targeted and the officials refuse to protect her. What's even more disturbing is the media's role in all of this. When Caitlyn struggled against physical defense early in the season, Charles Barkley went on national TV during the NBA playoffs to claim that WNBA players were jealous of her. That narrative took off like wildfire. Suddenly, every hard foul was jealousy. Every physical play was evidence of pettiness. The reality is more complex. Yes, some players resent Clark's instant fame, but many others simply play physical basketball. The WNBA has always been more physical than the NBA. The league even made commercials about it before the season, but when that physicality is directed at Clark, suddenly it's a problem. The race issue can't be ignored either. Clark's fanbase includes a vocal minority that uses her success to diminish Black players. They spell her name wrong while claiming to be superfans. They threaten violence against anyone who plays tough defense on their hero. They've turned WNBA comment sections into battlegrounds of hate. Angel Reese, Clark's college rival and now WNBA peer, has borne the brunt of this hatred. Every time she and Clark face off, the racial slurs fly. During one game in Indianapolis, fans allegedly hurled racial epithets at Reese so loudly that players on the court could hear them. The WNBA launched an investigation, but Clark said she couldn't hear anything because it was too loud. Convenient. The league's new No Space for Hate campaign is supposed to address this toxicity. But how can you combat hate when it's coming from the fanbase of your most marketable player? How do you protect Black players from racist attacks without alienating the audience that's finally paying attention to your product? This is the WNBA's devil's bargain. They wanted mainstream attention. They got it. But with that attention came the worst elements of American sports culture. The racists who never watched women's basketball before suddenly have opinions. The misogynists who dismissed the league for decades now want to protect their white savior from the mean Black players. Meanwhile, Clark herself seems trapped. She can't speak out too forcefully against the racism without alienating her fan base. She can't complain about the physical play without seeming soft. She can't even make shots right now without people questioning whether the pressure has broken her. The groin injury that's keeping her out tonight, some insiders are whispering that it might be more mental than physical. Not that she's faking it, but that the accumulated stress of carrying the league's hopes while being targeted nightly has taken its toll. The body keeps the score, as they say. What happens next could determine the future of women's basketball. If Clark can't find her shot, if the injuries keep piling up, if the toxic atmosphere drives her away, the WNBA might never recover. The new fans will leave as quickly as they arrived. The TV ratings will crater. The momentum will die. But there's another possibility. Maybe this is rock bottom. Maybe Clark comes back from this injury with a renewed focus. Maybe the league finally cracks down on both the excessive physicality and the racist fans. Maybe the players find a way to coexist with their new reality. The business side can't be ignored. 3 WNBA coaches have already been fired this season. The influx of money and attention has raised the stakes. Owners who used to treat their teams as tax write-offs suddenly want to win. The patience for rebuilding is gone. Everyone wants to capitalize on the Clark boom before it potentially busts. Players like A'ja Wilson, the league's best player who somehow gets overshadowed by Clark, must be frustrated. Wilson is having another MVP season, but the headlines are all about a rookie's shooting slump. Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Alyssa Thomas, all incredible players whose greatness is ignored because they're not the chosen one. This is the price of transcendent stardom. Michael Jordan dealt with it. LeBron James faced it. Now Caitlyn Clark is experiencing what happens when you become bigger than the game itself. Every move is scrutinized, every struggle is magnified, every failure is catastrophic. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. The WNBA needs conflict. They need rivalry, they need drama. A league where everyone gets along and plays nice doesn't sell tickets. The Clark controversy, as ugly as it's become, has people talking about women's basketball like never before. The question is whether they can harness that energy without destroying their newest star. Can they protect Clark while maintaining the league's physical identity? Can they embrace new fans without alienating their core audience? Can they navigate the racial dynamics without tearing themselves apart? Tonight, as Clark sits out another game, these questions loom large. Her teammates will try to win without her, but everyone knows the truth. The Indiana Fever without Caitlyn Clark is just another mediocre team. The WNBA without Caitlyn Clark might just be another niche league struggling for relevance. Some insiders are already whispering about next season. Will Clark demand a trade to a team that better protects its stars? Will she take that Big Three money and leave the WNBA in her rearview mirror? Will the accumulation of injuries force an early retirement from a player who seemed indestructible just months ago? The most likely scenario is that Clark rebounds. Great players always do. The shots will start falling again. The injuries will heal. The controversy will fade into background noise, but the scars from this season will remain. The league has shown its true colors, and they're not pretty. What we're witnessing isn't just a shooting slump or an injury crisis. It's a league grappling with its own identity. Do they want to be the progressive, social justice-oriented organization they've been for decades? Or do they want to embrace the mainstream success that comes with compromise and controversy? Caitlyn Clark didn't ask to be the face of this dilemma. She just wanted to play basketball, but sometimes history chooses you. And right now, the future of women's professional basketball rests on the shoulders of a 22-year-old who can't make a three-pointer. The irony is palpable. The player who was supposed to save the WNBA might end up exposing all its flaws instead. The racism, the resentment, the politics, the violence, it's all there under the surface, and Clark's presence has brought it bubbling up. As I finish this deep dive, I keep thinking about something Sue Bird said. Clark is being used as a pawn, but by whom? The league that needs her star power? The veterans who resent her success? The fans who've turned her into a symbol of something larger? Maybe all of the above. One thing's for certain. What happens to Caitlyn Clark over the next few months will define women's basketball for the next decade. Will she overcome the adversity and cement her status as the transformational player everyone expected? Or will the pressure, injuries, and controversy drive her away from the game she loves? Only time will tell. But if you've been paying attention, you know this story is far from over. The shocking truth about Caitlyn Clark's struggles isn't just about basketball. It's about race, money, power, and the price of fame in modern America. And whether you love her or hate her, you can't look away. If you made it this far, you're clearly as invested in this story as I am. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Comment below with your thoughts. Is Caitlyn Clark being unfairly targeted? Is the criticism justified? What do you think happens next? And remember, the truth is always more complicated than it seems. Until next time, keep questioning everything.